Hello there, you beautiful people, and welcome to this lecture on dictionaries. Now, dictionaries are a super badass data type in Python and are possibly my favorite of all the Python data structures. So in this lecture, you're going to learn what dictionaries are, how to create them, and also we're going to go through a quick example of how to use them so you can get a very good idea of how dictionaries work. Let's do it. Okay, so first of all, what the heck is a dictionary? Well, if you've ever used a real-life dictionary, you know that you have a bunch of words, and each word has a definition for it in the dictionary. People look up the word, and they get the dictionary definition back. Python dictionaries work in the same way, except they're much more powerful. First, you look up a key in the dictionary, then you get back some value. So let's see this in practice. Here I'm going to make an empty dictionary called students. So I'm going to type students equals this empty dictionary. So as you can see, these squiggly brackets are used to create dictionaries. They're the same symbols that you use in string formatting, but they're not linked at all. It's just the same symbol. So inside of here, we want to define some keys and assign them some values. So for this, I'm going to define the keys as student names, and the values are going to be the students' ages. So let me just write this again. I'm going to have Alice as a key, and I'm going to type in age 25. I'm going to have Bob as another key, and we're going to have him as age 27. And you can see the way that I'm doing it. This is a key, and then I have a colon, then the value, and then a comma to separate the next key and value, and a comma to separate the next key and value, and so on. So we've got Claire. She's going to be 17. We've got Dan, who is going to be 21, and we're going to have Emma, who's going to be 22. Okay, so let me just click enter on that, and that's going fine. So here's our dictionary of students. Pretty easy, right? Now notice how each of the keys is a string. I can't just put text in there without the string quote marks, because otherwise Python would give me a name error. So for example, if I tried to write, error students, right? This is not going to work. Say if I just tried to type Alice 25, Bob 27, let's see how that goes. That's going to give me an error because it's going to say name Alice is not defined. It's looking for a variable called Alice. But if I put quotes around it like this and make it a string, then that will work. Okay, now it's going to tell me Bob isn't defined, right? So you get the point there. So we now have a dictionary up here set up with a bunch of items. Each item represents a student, and each item has a key and a value. So we have items, keys, and values. Now, how do we look up a key? Right? So that's very easy. All we have to do is type the name of the dictionary. So we type students. Then we type some square brackets, like we did with slices, and inside we type the key. So for example, if we want Dan's age, we would type in the key of Dan, and when we press enter, it's going to look through all the items, find the one that has the key of Dan, and give us back the value, which is 21. Sweet. So what if another student joins the class who's called Fred, and Fred is 25? Well, what we can do is we can just assign the key of Fred to the value of 25 in the student's dictionary, like this. We type students, we'd put the key of Fred, and we'd set that equal to 25. Okay, now when we look up Fred like this, students look up the key of Fred, it's going to give us back 25. So what if Alice, our first student, had a birthday and became 1 year older to become 26? Well, all we have to do is type students, Alice, right? At the minute, she's 25. Students, Alice equals 26. And that is going to now, if we look up Alice again, she's now got 1 year older and she's become 26. But Fred is not a particularly dedicated student and very quickly drops out of the class. So how can we delete Fred from our dictionary of students? Well, do you remember the del keyword from before when we were working with lists? Well, all we have to do is type del students Fred. And this is going to delete the item with the key of Fred along with any associated values. So Fred should be gone now. So when we look up Fred, we are going to get what's called a key error, saying that basically the key Fred could not be found. We can get a list of keys from the dictionary using the dictionary keys method. So if I had students.keys, right, this is going to give us all the keys, but in a rather weird dict keys data type, right? So the dict keys data type is iterable, but it isn't indexable. So we can't really just pick out one of them. Like, for example, I couldn't go students.keys and I pick out like the first index or the 0th index. That won't work, right? Oh, sorry, I spelled students wrong. Let's give it a fair chance. That won't work, right? It says dict keys object does not support indexing. So, but the way that we can access certain indexes is to turn student keys into a list. So if we do student.keys and we turn that into a list, right? I'm going to save that as something called A for now. That's going to work. And now we've got a list. So now I can just take out the keys at any point, right? Like that. We can also take out the values by using the .values method. So students.values is going to give out a dict values, which has the same issues that we had before. These are actually very compatible with loops, especially for loops, just like the dict keys was, but we haven't covered those yet. So the way that you can actually convert this into a list, if you want to pull stuff out, is you just go list students.values like that. That's going to convert into a list, and then you can pull out slices, for example, as much as you'd like from there. But if I just tried it with students.values and tried to take a slice of that, that will give me an error because it says dict values object is not subscriptable, or it's not indexable if I try to pick just one of them. So you've got these limitations, but you can always convert them into a list. But an important thing to note here is that a dictionary, unlike a list or tuple, does not have an order. The only way to access an item is to use its key. You don't use an index. So if I print out students, right? So let me print out students. You can see the way that it's been printed here, Dan, Alice, Bob, Emma, Claire, is different to the order at the top that I defined it in, which was A, B, C, D, E, right? Because dictionaries don't intrinsically have an order. They basically just store the keys and values together. The keys and the values are always matched together, but the order in which they appear doesn't necessarily matter because you only use the key that you want to access the value. You don't use, like, for example, an index. I can't use student 0. It's going to say there's no key 0. You have to use a key. Okay, so this is probably a good place to take a break and digest what we've learned. First, you've learned that a Python dictionary works just like a real-life dictionary, in that you first look up a key, just like you'd look up a word, and then you get back some information associated with that key, or a value. So each key-value pair is called an item. You then learned how to create a dictionary, and we made a dictionary of students. Each of the keys in our dictionary was a student's name, and the value was the student's age. You learned how to look up a key in the dictionary using the square bracket syntax, and then we had the delight of a new student called Fred joining our class. You learned how to add the student to the dictionary simply by assigning a value to a new key, but unfortunately that student decided to go on and do other things and dropped out, which was quite convenient for you, however, as you got to learn how to delete an item from a dictionary using the del keyword. You can also update values, like Alice had a new birthday and her age changed from 25 to 26. All you have to do to change a value or in a dictionary is to take the key and assign it a new value. So for example, students of Alice, you just assign it whatever value. So let's say in 1,000 years, Alice will be, she'll be 1,026, I suppose. Damn, she old. So Then we learned how you're going to get out all the keys from a dictionary and all the values using the dot keys and the dot items function. But you can also, the dot values function you saw. But you can also use the dot items function to pull out all the items. So if I did students dot items, you can see it gives us basically a list of tuples, and each tuple is an item. So that's quite a lot of awesome stuff about dictionaries that we've learned here today. It's quite a lot the dictionaries allow us to do, but we're going to take it to a whole new level of awesome in the next video, where you're going to learn how to give a single key multiple values. So for that, I'll see you in the next video.